comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Shh, look out for the devil. Look out for the devil. Look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I. You're so afraid of old man Satan. Now, why don't you stop your hesitating? You're gonna be a long time dead, so the devil with the devil, says I. You're always giving me the dickens, telling me that life's no easy pickings. But just as long as I have fun, why, the devil with the devil, says I. You can have your social teas and bingo for your fun, but the things I like to do, you stop me one by one. Now even if you make me stronger, that ain't gonna make me live no longer. So even if I go to shh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Look out for the devil, look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leo Zagami Show with Leo and Christy. Thank you for all of you who are following us from Facebook, from YouTube, from X, from Rumble, from BitChute, from Band.video, where we totalized over 20,000 views for the last show. We are definitely getting some interest, but of course, we are not like those famous influencers with millions of people following them, because we have been censored left, right, and censored.
Left, right, and censored.
Left, right, and censored. That's good. Okay, the subject of today is of great interest. It's from my latest book, which is also going very well. The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster, Exposing Jeffrey Epstein and the Most Powerful Jewish Sect in the World. Christy, who are the sponsors of today's show, aside from the readers of our fantastic books?
Daniel and Nalgazad Minza. Thank you, guys. You always come through.
Guys, if you want to help us here, GoFundMe. And also, you can find the Cash App handle at riozagami.com, together with my latest articles. It's about time that we need some ulterior sponsors. Come on, guys. Come on. Encourage us, because we want to bring you more than one show a week, but that's, of course, not possible if we don't get the right motivation, and at least we can cover up our expenses. Well, guys, at this point, we have the, you see?
Oh, yeah.
It's a turkey.
It's a turkey day.
It's a turkey.
Days come in. Lots of food, lots of fun.
Yes.
No family. That's okay.
Well, we have our own family. It's two people family.
Well, and then Tony.
And well, of course, the people who might join us virtually, maybe if not in presence, from all over the world and all over the United States. In any case, guys, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's such a privileged individual. Why she's so privileged? Well, I explain in my book that she wasn't just, this kind of pimp working for Jeffrey, madam working for Jeffrey Epstein. She's much more. And today we're gonna, of course, expose the inner secrets of this figure, the daughter of Robert Maxwell. Let's have a look at Ghislaine Maxwell's privileges and what's happening at the moment with all this criticism after they moved her this summer to this luxury prison where she has.
That was weird.
Yeah,
Weird.
absolutely.
Why would you do that to a criminal, eh?
Well, in a moment we're going to explain why.
Tonight with new details about the so-called whistleblower who worked at the federal prison camp in Bryan. The nurse shared communications with lawmakers from the prison's most notorious inmate, convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. She's behind bars for her role in the sexual abuse operation operated by Jeffrey Epstein.
Noella Turnage was a nurse at the Bryan Federal Prison Camp and was fired for leaking copies of Maxwell's emails with an attorney that were printed and saved. She says she had access to those emails after she was reassigned to the phone room for speaking up about how staff and inmates are being treated. That allowed her to monitor phone calls and emails. Turnage says she was troubled by the special privileges Maxwell was getting from the warden and other higher-ups. For example, she says the warden personally handed all mail addressed to Maxwell to her. Turnage also told Rusty Surrett with our sister station in Bryan that there were private catered-style visitation arrangements. She claims the decision to print, save, and share the emails came down to a gut feeling.
When one inmate tries to tell the truth and gets strapped to a concrete slab over it, and another one with influence comes in and gets every privilege known to man, somebody has to say something. And that's the way I feel, because for years, Rusty, staff has been mistreated there. Inmates have been horribly abused, horribly. And you'll start to see some of that come out shortly, too.
No word yet from the warden or Bureau of Prisons on Maxwell's treatment. Our sister station in Bryan College Station, KBTX, is working on this story and will continue to update this on our website.
And we will, of course, follow this because it's part of the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell saga. In July 2025, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche met with Ghislaine Maxwell in Florida for 2 days to discuss her knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein in Florida. What they might have said was not really that much because, of course, to questions like this one, which I'm about to show you, the answer was kind of lame. And she's definitely maybe a good actress. I give her that. She's kind of used to lying. But of course, make up your own mind. Listen to this specific question regarding Mossad and other intelligence agencies.
So I'm going to ask you questions that you shouldn't read into them. I just want to know whether they resonate with you. Have you ever had any contact with any representative that you know of from Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency?
Can you ask me that again?
Have you ever had any contact with an individual that you understand to be from Mossad, an Israeli intelligence agency?
Well, not deliberately.
Pardon me?
Not deliberately.
Okay. And did you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but just to put a finer point on it, did you ever know that were you ever told, do you ever think that Mr. Epstein was getting any money from any intelligence agency, including Mossad?
Well, I don't believe so, but I wouldn't know. I mean, I would be very surprised if he did. I don't think so. No.
We've talked about a lot of names, and I'm sure there's some that we haven't covered. Are there any foreign nationals? So right now we've talked about some British, the royal family a little bit, and maybe high society folks in Britain. Were there any international businessmen or politicians that had a very close relationship or a close relationship with Mr. Epstein that we haven't already talked about?
Off the top of my head, I can think of Ehud Barak.
Yes, maybe that answer was a bit too much even for the guy who was there, being very kind, very kind.
Yeah, I thought it was really nice.
Very nice. They're not that nice usually.
No.
Okay, guys,
I don't know this. No,
I mean, when
just
she-
from watching shows.
when she answers to the question, did she have anything? I mean, Epstein, did he have anything to do with Mossad, the other intelligence? She gives like a answer that kind of evolves, and then in the end, no, definitely not. But it started with maybe I don't know,
Perhaps
not that I know this and that. I mean, guys, she's a professional liar, of course, but she's also much more. When we're talking about Ehud Barak, as I exposed here in my book, we're talking about a vile person who has raped Virginia Giuffre, Virginia Roberts, Virginia, who was really lamenting that also to Jeffrey Epstein, after she went to Jeffrey Epstein and said, this guy is violently raping me. I mean, it wasn't a normal
rape, a normal rape?
No, but it wasn't even a normal relations you have in a kind of prostitution setup. It was something
like kinky, right?
Like the guy really enjoyed it. Ehud Barak really enjoyed.
He tortured her.
He tortured her, and he was enjoying that. And we know that he was the former Prime Minister of Israel, and of course he collaborated with Jeffrey Epstein for many other things. But like I explain in my book, it's not about Israel. It's not about the Jews. Of course, it's about Israel, about the Jews, but not in the way that most people perceive. Here we have the Sabbatean Frankists to control Mossad, control Shin Bet, control, of course, B'nai Brit, control most rabbis of relevance, and that's what really my book is bringing out. And that's why it's really being appreciated also by a lot of Jewish people, also people in Israel who are understanding the importance of my message in this book. So remember, Sabbatean Frankists the Sabbatean Frankists are Jews, but they hate the Jews who are not like them, because they feel they are the privileged ones, just like Ghislaine Maxwell.
You said that Mr. Epstein, at some point in the mid to late 90s, he started taking testosterone. Did you ever know him to take any other drugs?
No. I mean, he took pills for his heart, I think. But I don't know no substances.
What do you know anything about his heart condition? I know we talked about this at 9:45 this morning, but do you know anything about his heart condition beyond that you understood he had a heart condition that affected his ability to have sex?
Other than what he told me, no, he never shared anything, but he did take pills. I don't know anything about that. And like I said, he did the testosterone, which made him mean.
He did the testosterone, and that's because Jeffrey Epstein had a micro penis. Now, it's not me stating that, but is actually a study that was conducted also on Adolf Hitler and then put together by the journalists from the New York Post in a relevant article for our discourse today. I know it's a little bit shocking that we're discussing somebody's penis, but it was apparently just as deformed as the penis of other important leaders like Adolf Hitler. Now, Adolf Hitler and Jeffrey Epstein are both Sabbatean Frankists. So did Sabbatean Frankists have a small penis? Now, that is something that, of course, might shock a lot of people. But this is the measurements that we have been taking here. When it comes to the micro penis, I have to be serious.
I didn't measure nothing.
Here we have, on the left, Jeffrey Epstein. And he was a Sabbatean Frankist with a small penis. Micro penis are penises which are around 2 inches. Guys.
Oh my God.
So that is 5 centimeters, okay? In full erection. and the same for Adolf Hitler. Now, why is this so important and so
It
relevant?
must contribute to their dictatorship. I don't know.
Yeah, it must be relevant to their sickness in their head. But look at the article that the New York Post did in regards to both Jeffrey Epstein and Adolf Hitler. I'm trying to find this article because I think it's important. A week ago, for the 80th anniversary, I think, of the death of Adolf Hitler, a study was conducted by a group of scientists. The study on the DNA of Adolf Hitler revealed that he suffered from this condition. It's a condition. So now with Christy, we're going to go and read the article, which, of course,
Christy's gonna read.
Christy's gonna read. What is a micropenis?
Oh, this is just lovely. I asked you if you did this to me today, and you probably did it when I asked you.
Okay,
You got the idea again.
Okay. So first of all, you see, last week, okay, please.
Last week, 80 years after his death, Adolf Hitler made headlines for a surprising reason. DNA analysis determined that he may have had a micropenis. The Nazi dictator was found to have a genetic disorder called
Kallmann syndrome, yes,
which can delay or prevent puberty and result in underdeveloped sexual organs. And the revelations about dead men's anatomy keeps on coming. In an interview this week, Jeffrey Epstein's accuser,
Reno,
claimed that the convicted pedophile had an extremely deformed penis, which was probably like 2 inches fully erect.
Now, this is the measurement. Now, taking the measurement, you see 2 inches. 2 inches. For those who follow us from countries who are used to centimeters, we're talking approximately 5 centimeters. It is this prevents, of course, also the fertility of an individual. In fact, both Adolf Hitler and Jeffrey Epstein didn't have children because, I mean, it really is a big
you
problem.
You asked that question. Remember in the show you said, "Where are all the children?"
Yeah, well, where are all the children? He was supposed to produce something. We're gonna go now also and discuss what happened in his lab in the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. But please read this.
Who says she was groomed by Epstein? Made the remarks in a recent Substack interview with Tina Brown. The 46-year-old said she didn't believe he was able to have penetrative sex.
He couldn't penetrate.
Yeah,
too little. He can't penetrate.
Okay, Amore.
Okay.
Some
quote. You're quoting.
Okay, some people have described it as the shape of an egg. I think you should read this.
Yes, I mean, we know that also that the prostitute that allegedly went with Donald J. Trump said he had this deformed penis with Trump with a shape of a mushroom. It was exceedingly big on the edge, on the capella. How you call it?
Your tone is really wrong.
Okay.
I can tell you're joking.
Well, I'm serious. This is a serious program. So some people have described it as the shape of an egg. You remember when they interviewed him, and we showed that interview many times on our show with Jeffrey Epstein, then just left the room and gave up, made a strange look. And when they asked him, is it true that you have a shape of an egg? I mean, what kind of egg? Is that a Kinder egg, the small Kinder egg you give to the children? No, but usually then you have a big one, Easter egg, but this is small Kinder egg. Okay.
Here, if you want to debate this, you could debate it with him.
Okay, let's see.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about these private things.
Okay, let's go back into this. Okay. I think it was more of the shape of a lemon.
Oh my God, it doesn't ever end.
Yes, and it was really small when it was fully erect, quote, I'm quoting Ho, who was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. She said, though she didn't call this appendage a micropenis specifically, her estimate of its size would land in that category. Okay, so Christy, here.
An actual medical term, a micropenis, is a penis that's significantly smaller than average.
Yes.
Based on correct measurement, a micropenis is microphallus, or microphallus is classified by certain lengths at different ages. Newborns less than 0.74 inches, 5 years old less than 1.5 inches, adults less than 2.9 inches.
Okay, so while this condition doesn't affect how the penis works, it is an extremely rare condition affecting about 1.5 in 10,000 newborns in the U.S. Now,
and he's so tall,
no,
too.
but
It must look really weird.
No, New York Post then made a photo public with the article where he smiles in front of the mathematics of it all, you know. He was an expert in mathematics. He must have been also an expert in geometry. So he knew very well he had a small penis.
I'm sure somebody told him.
Well, I'm sure. Okay, so what causes a micropenis? This is, of course, an investigative report by the New York Post on Adolf Hitler and Jeffrey Epstein, both with a small penis. And it's relevant to my book, guys, because they were both Sabbatean Frankists. I want to remind you that in this book, I reveal how Adolf Hitler was himself, quoting the late Rabbi Antelman, a product of a Sabbatean Frankist ritual in 1888. So then we would like to have the same DNA kind of thing, the analysis done on Jacob Frank, whose skull, at least we know it exists. Did Jacob Frank have a small penis? Did Shabbatai Zevi have a small penis? Now, this is, it would be relevant because these things...
Does Putin?
No. Putin, let's not mention Putin, because I think Putin has demonstrated that he's a man. In any case, he has kids. You know, he has kids.
Oh, okay.
He has kids. Okay. So
is Donald. So
well, Donald has a kid, but we don't know if his mushroom is big or is small. You know, you could have, what kind is the mushroom?
It's probably a portobello.
It's a portobello mushroom. Okay. But that is something for Thanksgiving, guys. We're not going to have portobello mushroom in this house at this point.
Can we stop talking about this now?
No, okay, no, please, no. What causes a micropenis here?
Where is it?
Here.
Well, it can occur on its own. A micropenis is often associated with several other health issues, from hormonal disorders or conditions that are present at birth. The main cause is fetal testosterone deficiency.
That's what, and that's why in the interview, she says that Jeffrey Epstein was taking testosterone. I thought that was the...
And we're jumping around a little bit. Sorry.
It was good.
And like I said, he did the testosterone.
Which probably go after 18. So.
No, it's
and we're jumping around a little bit.
It's relevant for an investigation.
Do you know someone named Donald Barr?
Donald Barr. Donald Barr also, he's very important for investigators. Donald Barr is that pervert who wrote that a book called Space Relations, who gave the first job to Jeffrey Epstein. And we know that Space Relations had, it was a book which describes a figure which is very similar to Ghislaine Maxwell. I've been saying that in my book. In my book, by the way, I explain how Jeffrey Epstein's Shekinah was Ghislaine Maxwell. And what does it mean? Ghislaine Maxwell was the high priestess of this cult of the micropenises that have, unfortunately, affix a lot of these powerful people. And then they have to come together and do these strange rituals so they can feel empowered in some way, I guess. But I think that it's important to explain why she's so privileged. Let's not forget, she's the only one that in this whole case is alive, because Jeffrey Epstein was suicided. Then the other guy who provided with 1,000 minors for their island, Jean-Luc Brunel, also suicided. She's the only one who is still alive and kicking. And she's treated almost like royalty. I mean, it's unbelievable how this woman is getting treated. And it's quite incredible.
My name is Davis Jones. I'm a social photographer, photographing parties all over the world. And that's how I came to photograph Ghislaine Maxwell.
I remember seeing her and thinking to myself, like, who is that glamorous woman?
It's almost like there's two different Ghislaines. According to the victims, the real Ghislaine is this manipulative woman who has no feelings.
This is the first picture I took of her at Oxford. I didn't know who she was, and someone identified, wrote her name on the back of the contact sheet. So she would have been starting at Oxford University around then. If I was asked to describe her then, I would say innocent, beautiful, privileged. In Oxford, she wasn't part of the cool crowd. They were the sort of rich crowd.
I don't really see her as a rule breaker necessarily. Like, I see her as somebody who's very much trying to fit the mold of like the life she thought she was going to have when she was a child.
In family photos that they've never shared before, you can see a pretty idyllic life, including an expensive education, and all because of a difficult, brilliant billionaire, her dad, Robert Maxwell.
Well, Robert Maxwell was one of the most important and powerful people in British public life in the 70s and 80s. He was a media tycoon, he owned a publishing house, he owned tabloids, various different companies.
That we've got to get the Mirror newspapers on top, all the way.
He made national news almost every day because of his extravagances and his pronouncements.
Incredibly powerful.
Just so we make it clear, in my book, I showed the similarities of a young Robert Maxwell with Jacob Frank. He actually fought when he was young. He was the reincarnation of Jacob Frank. Here is Eve Frank, that would become the successor, the first and only Jewish Messiah. And Ghislaine Maxwell fought. She was the reincarnation of Eve Frank. So that's something nobody else will ever reveal you. This book, guys, The Rise and Fall of a Frankish Monster, is where you really find secrets that nobody wants you to know. The fact that the Sabbatean Frankish sect is so powerful, so relevant, and that she still worshipped and even gave the possibility of meeting her friends where? In a chapel. And what kind of meetings are they doing? Are they doing rituals? Let's not forget, she is a high priestess of this cult. That is her position. A high priestess is not any kind of position. It's an important position, very relevant, because you have this role that needs to be described. She is revered. She's an influential figure with spiritual, religious, and esoteric knowledge. And the title of High Priestess is not given to anybody. It's given to a special designated person amongst the elite.
Hugely egotistical. You would eat caviar.
Next question. No, you cannot.
And people were physically afraid of him.
Being with him and around him was always quite tense because, he was demanding and difficult. And so one tended to be not too close if one could avoid it.
The governing theory is that her father was a despotic man who was very mercurial and moody, and her entire life was just about trying to get his acceptance.
Now we go into the roots of the family, a family whose roots are secretive, because Robert Maxwell's real name, as I explain in my book, was Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hock, born in what today is Ukraine, in Carpathian Ruthenia, a place notoriously afflicted by the Sabbatean Frankist heresy. And he became known as Robert Maxwell only after becoming a British subject in 1946, picking up the surname Maxwell from the infamous spy master Maxwell Knight.
Robert Maxwell was born into a Hasidic family in Czechoslovakia. His name was Jan Ludwig Hock, and he fought in battles across Europe.
He was one of 9 children himself that was so poor that they had to share shoes. They all slept in the same rooms.
and a good portion of his family was murdered in the Holocaust.
By the time he was 23, he'd changed his name 4 times. He fixed on Robert Maxwell because it sounded faintly Scottish, which he quite...
No, that's not the truth. The truth is found in my book. Maxwell Knight, the head of the MI5 spy ring that he himself came to become part of. It was an elite unit of the British intelligence. So High Priestess of what? Of the Sabbatean Frankists. And that's a reality and not a conspiracy theory. So what you are listening in this show is something that no other show gives you. You have these echo chambers of nonsense all over the internet, people who claim they are experts on this, on that, and all the other, but nobody can tell you why Donald J. Trump is bowing down to all this.
They're very, very, very confused. And then I scream at the TV, why don't you buy Leo Zagami's book and then you won't be?
No, it's about understanding certain things. So finally, you can have a full picture, of really what's going on. Because there is certain secrets which they are still trying to cover up.
So how does it all look? Is my hair good? It's all I don't know much about him. Well, that's just not true. I'm not sure exactly what the outcome will be, but definitely not.
There are stories that drift quietly in the background for years, almost like distant thunder you can hear but can't quite see. And then one day the storm finally breaks open. That is exactly what happened when Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman at the center of the Epstein empire, began speaking from behind prison walls and whispered a name the world never expected, Meghan Markle. Not as a bystander, not as an outsider, but as someone who, according to Maxwell's own words, was far closer to the heart of the Epstein circle than anyone imagined. For years, the public believed Meghan's story began when she met Prince Harry in 2016. But Maxwell's revelations hint at something deeper, older, and far more troubling. A trail of redacted testimony, hidden encounters, and a past that someone, somewhere, desperately wanted erased. This isn't tabloid talk. This isn't internet gossip. This is the part of the story that was locked away in sealed files, whispered in courtrooms, and buried under classified markings. And today, that story begins to unfold. Because to understand the truth behind Meghan's sudden rise, her unexpected entrance into royal life, and why her name appears in the shadows of a case involving some of the world's most powerful people, we have to start where everything was first erased, with the missing hours. When Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony was released to the public, people expected a tidal wave of secrets, names, events, dates, the kind of information that could shake governments and families. But instead, what the world received was a document that looked like it had been attacked by a black marker. Entire paragraphs, entire pages, whole conversations, gone. In fact, over 12 hours of Maxwell's spoken testimony never saw daylight at all. 12 hours, imagine that. That's longer than an average school day, longer than most people sleep at night, and every single minute of it is sealed away. Sources close to the court transcripts hint that these weren't random redactions. These were strategic removals, details so sensitive, so explosive, someone decided the safest option was to bury them. And here is where the story takes its first shocking turn. In those missing hours, those hours that vanished into locked legal vaults, Meghan Markle's name reportedly appeared, not in passing, not as a rumor, but in connection to events, people, and circles that are now at the center of this unfolding scandal. Before Meghan ever met Harry, before she became a duchess, before she stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, her name was allegedly part of a testimony the world was never meant to hear. This is where the trail begins, and it leads directly to the next piece of the puzzle, the moment Meghan was nearly pulled into the courtroom herself. Long before the royal wedding, before Oprah interviews and Netflix deals, Meghan Markle's name surfaced in a place no one expected, the witness considerations for Virginia Roberts. Virginia, one of the central figures in the Epstein case, reportedly requested Meghan Markle as a witness. Why? Because Meghan, according to her, had direct knowledge of certain individuals, particularly Prince Andrew, before Meghan ever became part of the royal family. This request didn't come from gossip, It came from a woman whose testimony helped expose one of the biggest criminal networks in modern history. If Virginia Roberts believed Meghan had information, it means Meghan was closer to Andrew's world than anyone publicly admitted. Sources say Virginia didn't ask for Meghan because Meghan was famous. She asked because Meghan had allegedly been in social environments where Andrew, Maxwell, and others interacted behind closed doors. For the legal teams, this was a nightmare. Calling Meghan as a witness would have forced her background, her associations, and her early connections under the brightest, harshest spotlight imaginable. But that never happened. Someone, somewhere, made sure that door stayed closed. And that brings us to one of the most disturbing claims of all. Ghislaine Maxwell's personal admissions about who Meghan used to be and the name she allegedly went by. According to Maxwell's comments from prison, Meghan Markle was known by a different name in her younger years, Flower. Not a stage name, not a character name from a film set, but an alias, one used in adult entertainment spaces and private social circles that operated far away from Hollywood's bright lights. Maxwell claims she knew Meghan, not in the polite, distant way celebrities claim to know each other, but in a way that suggests they shared overlapping worlds long before Meghan ever set her sights on British royalty. The alleged nickname Flower was used among certain guests, entertainers, and contacts within Epstein-linked environments. It was whispered in back rooms, on guest lists, and among the people whose lifestyles operated behind the velvet curtain of luxury and secrecy. To a young girl dreaming of fame, this world might have seemed glamorous, powerful, or exciting. But according to Maxwell, this world was anything but safe. And what unsettles investigators isn't the nickname itself, it's what the nickname implies. Meghan was not a stranger to that environment. Meghan had a presence there, and Meghan moved through circles that eventually overlapped with Andrew, Fergie, and others tied to the scandal. If this is true, it changes everything. It means Meghan didn't stumble into the royal world by chance. She didn't enter Buckingham Palace from the outside. She stepped into it from the shadows of a world the monarchy has spent years trying to distance itself from. To understand how Meghan's path crossed into royal territory long before she met Harry, we need to step into the world of private invitations, royal boxes, and quiet corridors where titles matter less than connections. According to multiple sources familiar with events from that era, Meghan was no stranger to the orbit surrounding Prince Andrew, not as a friend and not as a royal guest, but as someone who appeared on the edges of exclusive gatherings. Back in the early 2000s and into the early 2010s, Prince Andrew frequently attended events with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, dinners, charity galas, private parties. These were not places where ordinary people simply wandered in. Everyone present was either handpicked or connected to someone powerful. And in those quiet corners, Meghan allegedly appeared. She wasn't yet a duchess. She wasn't yet a household name. But she was an actress trying to climb the ladder, navigating a world where introductions mattered more than resumes. This isn't about her being romantically linked to Andrew, that is never claimed. But it is about her being close enough to witness the people, the atmosphere, the unspoken rules of the room. Sources say Meghan was introduced around this time to various personalities who moved effortlessly between Hollywood, New York, and royal circles. And more importantly, she interacted with people who were also tied to Andrew and Maxwell. It wasn't front-page news, it wasn't even a footnote, it was just a quiet presence in the background, one that would later become incredibly significant when Virginia Roberts asked for Meghan as a witness. Because those early interactions meant that Meghan saw more, heard more, and knew more than the public ever imagined. And if Andrew was the doorway to these circles, then there was someone else standing right beside him, someone who knew Meghan longer than any royal ever admitted. Every major story has a hidden character, someone who operates behind the scenes, pulling strings quietly while the world watches the wrong people. In this story, that person is Sarah Ferguson. Known to the world as Fergie, Andrew's ex-wife has always been tied to the royal family through children, money, and scandal. But according to insiders, Fergie played a far bigger role in Meghan's early proximity to the royal circle than most people realize. For years, the public believed Meghan and Fergie only met right before the royal wedding. A nice, tidy little story. But the truth? Sources claim Fergie knew Meghan long before the engagement ever happened. She was present at many of the same exclusive events where Meghan briefly appeared. She was close with Epstein and Maxwell during the height of their influence. She navigated the same guest lists, the same yacht circles, the same silent rooms where secrets traveled faster than champagne. Some reports even suggest that Fergie competed for Maxwell's position, seeking influence in the same network of wealthy and powerful men. This isn't about jealousy or rivalry, it's about access. Fergie understood the value of being near powerful people. And Meghan? She was a young actress with ambition and a willingness to be in the rooms where her career could change. But there is also another layer. Some sources say Fergie later body-blocked Meghan from getting too close to Andrew once Meghan's profile started rising. Whether it was protection or rivalry, no one can say for sure, but what is clear is this: Fergie had known Meghan. Fergie had seen Meghan's world. And Fergie understood the connections Meghan had before the rest of the royal family ever learned her name. And that leads directly to the night everything changed. The night Meghan's path collided with Harry's in a way that seemed spontaneous, but may not have been. If the Epstein circle was the dark ocean beneath the waves, Soho House was the glittering boat floating above it. Exclusive, glamorous, and always filled with the right people at the right time. And at the heart of this world was a man named Ron Burkle, a billionaire with connections spanning from Hollywood executives to political families to figures that quietly overlapped with Maxwell's social ecosystem. Soho House was more than a members club. It was a networking machine, one that moved careers, polished reputations, and connected rising stars to elite circles with astonishing speed. And this is where Meghan Markle's story takes a sharp turn. In April 2015, Soho House opened a new location in Istanbul. It wasn't just a party, it was a gathering of people with influence, money, charm, and ambition. Both Prince Harry and Prince Charles attended this event, and Meghan Markle, she was there too. Some say she was invited through a friend, others say Burkle himself arranged certain introductions. But what everyone seems to agree on is that Meghan's meeting with Harry at Soho House wasn't a random coincidence. It was the perfect setting. The music, the lights, the glamorous crowd, the sense of being chosen. A moment crafted by the environment itself. Within a year, Meghan suddenly rebranded herself from actress to humanitarian, from Hollywood hopeful to polished global figure, from flower to future duchess. And many people quietly wondered, who helped her make that transformation? Who opened the doors? Who guided her steps? Because people don't rise that quickly without a hand behind them. And according to whispers from inside the circles that attended that very weekend, the hand behind Meghan may not have been just Soho House. It may have been connected to far older, far more powerful networks, ones that Maxwell referenced in her testimony before those pages were blacked out. When the question is asked, why would Meghan's name appear in redacted files? The answer might not be about Meghan at all. Multiple sources say the redactions aren't protecting Meghan, the actress, they're protecting the people who placed her in certain circles. Powerful men, influential donors, international financiers, names from Hollywood, New York, London, and royal-adjacent networks. If Meghan was in these environments as a young woman, even briefly, then she might have seen or heard things that could embarrass people far higher on the pyramid. And this is where the tension rises, because according to insiders, Meghan carries memories, connections, and conversations that are extremely dangerous in the wrong hands, not because she wanted them, but because she was there. She saw the faces, she heard the whispers, she understood the dynamics of the rooms she entered. So the redactions didn't seal her name because she is a threat. They sealed her name because she is a witness, and witnesses, especially ones who later become duchesses, must be controlled, guided, and managed. In this view, Meghan's rapid rise wasn't a fairy tale. It was a placement, an arrangement, a strategy designed to elevate her away from the environments where she started. But when someone rises that fast, inevitably another force rises to meet them, a force determined to protect the monarchy from everything attached to the Epstein era. Inside the royal family, silence is the rule, discipline is the lifestyle, and reputation is everything. This is why the current tension between William and Harry has nothing to do with sibling rivalry. It has to do with protection. Sources close to the palace say that Prince William has drawn one firm boundary. He will not allow Meghan back into the royal inner circle, not because of public arguments, not because of media interviews, but because her past, those hidden rooms, those powerful circles, those redacted hours, carries a storm he refuses to let near the monarchy ever again. The clash became visible when Prince Andrew tried to attend a church service at Balmoral. William confronted the situation directly, either he comes or I come, and Andrew left. That tells us something crucial. William is no longer tolerating the remnants of the old Epstein-connected world. Not Andrew, not Fergie, and not anyone whose history is tied to the same social web. To William, Meghan isn't just an outsider. She is someone who knows too much about circles the monarchy is trying to erase from its past forever. He's not fighting Harry, he's fighting the history Harry married into. History with shadows, William once gone. But no shadow is darker or more symbolic than where Meghan's journey allegedly began. A place whispered about, never spoken of in public, but always remembered by those who were there. Every story has an origin moment. A moment that doesn't make headlines. A moment that seems small at first. Just a warm night, quiet waves, and glittering lights reflecting off the water. But years later, that moment becomes the spark that explains everything. For Meghan, that moment is whispered to have begun on a yacht. Not a cruise, not a vacation, but one of those elite, invitation-only gatherings where powerful men, silent deals, and unspoken rules all mix together under the cover of night. It was on one of these yachts, according to sources familiar with those social circles, that Meghan first entered the world she would later be accused of knowing too well. A world where introductions changed destinies. Appearances were everything. Favors were traded quietly. Young women were noticed, tested, and placed. Imagine it, the soft music, the expensive perfume in the air, the sound of glasses clinking, and the young actress named Flower standing beneath the golden lights, never realizing that every face she met that night would later shape her future. From that moment onward, Meghan was no longer just an actress. She was someone the powerful recognized, someone they watched, someone they quietly moved from one circle to another. And years later, when she walked into Harry's life, she didn't come as a stranger. She came as someone who had already seen the world he spent his entire life being protected from.
And that world is the world described by Stanley Kubrick in Eyes Wide Shut. And of course, I have written an article this week about it. There is also an old article I wrote about Markle, who was raised by communist nuns from the convent bought by Katy Perry with a Jesuit background. And all this, of course, as you can see yourself, May 2018. So it's not just yesterday. I've been saying these things for many, many years. And the latest article instead on my website, it's quite shocking because now even the mainstream journalists admit that conspiracy theories were right all along when they asserted the existence of an eyes wide shut scenario behind Jeffrey Epstein. Welcome to the Leo Zagami Show. For those who have just tuned in, we want to thank today's sponsors. Please join them so we can make more of these shows, and please share this video with your friends and family and put like. Another way of sustaining us is through my books, and we will be citing now a paragraph from my book here regarding this topic, which is Ghislaine Maxwell as the High Priestess, and then, of course, surrounded by all these minions, including Meghan Markle.
From here?
From here.
For years, Ghislaine Maxwell Epstein'S Shekinah, who was even blessed by a pope and future saint of the Catholic Church, John Paul II, has tried to distance herself from her once beloved Jeffrey. But recently, hundreds of emails from Epstein's personal Yahoo account, which hadn't been previously reported, shed new light on Maxwell's partnership with Epstein, proving once and for all the two were much closer than previously thought. Nevertheless, I will now do a deep dive on this matter by showing you another important element of their hidden sectarian life. The Iggerat HaKodesh, Holy Epistle, is a Kabbalistic work written in the second half of the 12th century, whose exact authorship is still debated amongst Jewish historians, asserts that sexual intercourse is the secret of holiness and the multiplication of the divine image, attempting to present a clear alternative to the negative attitude towards physicality and sexuality previously encountered in the Jewish faith. After giving up all the animalistic instincts that involve the sexual act, the author claims that intercourse mimics the actions of God, revealing one fundamental secret. When the seed drop is emitted into holiness and purity, it comes directly from the seed of knowledge and discernment, that is the brain. This means that when you join sexually with a woman, not allowing yourself to be carried away by her beauty, but keeping the mind firmly fixed towards the higher realities, we join in all effects with the Shekinah, i.e. the manifestation of Yahweh, so dear to the Illuminati and the Rosicrucians, and with the divine presence of God, the soul of the future child is created. Keep this secret and do not reveal it to anyone, except to those who are worthy, because you now understand the secret of the elevation of the right of sexual intercourse. Unfortunately, Jacob Frank and his followers were heavily influenced by their own twisted interpretation of the concept of sexual intercourse as a secret of holiness and the Shekinah mentioned in relation to his daughter Eve. In contemporary Jewish discourse and in Jewish mysticism, particularly in the Kabbalah, the Shekinah is a feminine concept representing the divine presence and eminence of God. The word Shekinah does not appear in the Hebrew Bible. The closest reference is 2 verses in Exodus, in which God promises to dwell Vashanti among the Israelites once they have built the tabernacle. The Zohar, the core work of Jewish mysticism, would later associate the tabernacle in Hebrew Mishkan with the Shekinah, both of which derive from the same Hebrew root.
Okay, now for the rest, I would suggest you go directly into my book and a deep dive into the rise and fall of Frankie's monster, exposing Jeffrey Epstein and the most powerful Jewish sect in the world. It's not about being anti-Semitic. It's about distancing yourself from what Judaism has become because of this subversion, of this subversion, of this twisting the very tenets of the Mosaic laws. And then we have these eye-to-eye shut kind of rituals conducted with the elite. Jacob Frank, as I explain in my book, opened himself also to the Catholic aristocracy and nobility and also to the English. And then they started to marry with each other. They started to become more and more involved. But this is the truth behind Ghislaine Maxwell, the truth that, of course, now has brought somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because of her work in exposing the Epstein files, which will never be completely revealed to the public. Now she has renounced to her political career. That's very sad, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking she should never quit.
But she's been threatened. That's the truth. Marjorie Taylor Greene, we wish you all the best. Here we want to just bring a brief excerpt from her last words.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same.
And the results are always the same, guys. I don't care, for those people who are now saying, like Trump, oh, well, thank God she has done the right thing. She has left politics. No, that's not really what we want, because the MAGA movement is not one person. It's not Donald J. Trump, especially when Donald J. Trump has shown that it's not for America first, letting in 600,000?
You said 600,000 Chinese people. You told me that.
600,000 Chinese
that does not
students.
Make sense.
Students, when we know that
he's a liar.
that is already something that really. Then we have, of course, other things like, for example, Bibi Netanyahu, who, by the way, is of Sabbatean Frankist descent from Poland. I explained that Poland is a very important place for the Sabbatean Frankist. So at the end of the day, guys, nobody's going to touch Ghislaine Maxwell, but nobody is also going to know the full extent of what these people were really doing with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, at the Zorro Ranch, they were not playing cards. They were not just having orgies. There was something more going on, something really sick. That's why I have brought this book with a cover, which of course links the whole thing to Frankenstein, the Frankenstein monster, which, by the way, is connected to the Sabbatean Frankist myth and legacy, and I explained that, of course, very clearly in my book. I want to show you this article just to make this more clear. Shocking new human experiment claims emerge from Epstein's Zorro Ranch. Woke up around medical equipment. A real Dr. Frankenstein of sorts, guys. A real Frankenstein of sorts that nobody will ever know the full truth if they don't spend a few hours in my book to understand all the implications, what went on in Little St. James, at the Zorro Ranch, in New York, all connected to people like Donald Barr, then Lex Wexner, then all the people from this famous Jewish study group, which was like an Illuminati setup for the B'nai Brit, which is the most influential and powerful fraternal Jewish organization in the world. I repeat, this is not about anti-Semitism. That's actually what I'm trying to fight here. If the Jews realize how they're being manipulated, or the people in Israel, the Israeli people who are not only Jews, realize the level of manipulation, both the Arabs and the Jews, they will finally realize the truth and find their freedom. That's the final message of my book. And I want to thank all those people who are purchasing this book, because I tell you, this is an important, very important essay in this moment, in this historical moment where we have a lot of confusion. But also, we can't stand with somebody who is saying this is a democratic hoax. I have been one of Trump's main supporters in Italy. I was the president of Italians for Trump. I was organizing with them the Coachella event with Trump. We went there. It was a great event. We saw so many people who really thought things would change for the better. Affordability.
I felt really nice in that crowd.
Yeah, affordability. I've been talking about affordability for months, and Trump has ignored us until now. Now he's finally seeing that, the polls and the people are actually realizing that the prices in the supermarkets have not changed for the better in the way that he had prospected. So it's not about ditching Trump, it's about ditching a whole system, because no matter who is in the White House, and this book demonstrated, it can be Donald J. Trump, it can be Joe Biden, who does showers with his little daughter, it can be Obama, who goes in a limo when he was a senator and has a blowjob by a man called Sinclair, and then is also doing other perverted activities. It can be Bill Clinton, who transformed, as we know, the Oval Office in a very improper situation with Monica Lewinsky, but also was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein a lot, and I'm sure he was not doing it because he liked to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. He liked to go with those little girls. And then we have George W. Bush, who apparently brought in male prostitutes in the White House. All these presidents have betrayed their office because ethically and morally, they are not like the founders used to be, like the people we are looking always to, for inspiration, people like George Washington or others. But already back then, if you think about it, at the very roots of the 1776, there was a guy called Benjamin Franklin, and Benjamin Franklin used to go to the Hellfire Clubs. So it's about time to say, we had enough with this elite and their double standards and their hypocritical practices. They also, of course, like the demonic, they like the entities. And now they want us to believe we are in front of the age of disclosure. So what kind of disclosure? I think you need to read my books about what is happening now with this so-called disclosure, because reverse engineering is actually bringing this prison planet that we have around us, this digital prison, this AI robotic digital prison, which then sees people like Elon Musk say, oh, well, you can only work for an hobby and you can take universal income. But basically, it's terrible.
I mean, Trump is basically a communist.
I mean, what is happening when you invite Mohammed bin Salman at the White House from Saudi Arabia and Elon Musk and all those elite people? It's not really populism at that point. It's sad that this is happening. It's sad that we have to denounce it. I hope things will change. And I hope that now Trump has also started to understand that all the accusations he was doing, the brutal words against Major Taylor Greene were wrong. In fact, he came up in the last few hours with this statement.
Oh, really? Disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, just stupid person named Massey. And I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
She's not only a nice person, Trump. She was your moral and ethical compass for the MAGA movement. And this is a big loss that we need to recover from. And I'm not sure we will. Thank you for following us today.
No.
Thank you for following us today. Maybe next week we will discuss other topics of interest. In the meantime, thanks to our sponsors, thanks to the people who purchase our books. There is also, as usual, if you are interested, the fantastic Zagami Family Cookbook with our favorite recipes. It's an Italian, of course, authentic Italian cooking, but tell you guys, we eat great food in this house, and you can learn how to make pizza, you can learn how to make fresh pasta and fresh pizza.
And then I have my 2 books that I made too.
Yes, cool. Confessions of an Illuminati Princess,
I'll
Volume
just make
1,
cookbooks.
Volume 1 and 2. And now, of course, we salute you with, once again, Vincenzo Viceversa Sound. Christy, who were the sponsors of today's show, so we can nominate them once again.
Nagarzada Minta and Daniel.
Please join them, guys. You can do it through GoFundMe and Cash App.
In that time, our world has taken so many steps in the wrong direction.
And happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving!
We are really grateful. I hope you are too. God bless you. God bless America.
In the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization, dehumanization. In the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization.
Thank you.
civilization, dehumanization. Technology, social organization.